Wife had an affair with her best friend's husband and faces legal action from her lawyer friend. I, 32M, am married to Emily, 28F. We've been married for 4 years. But everything changed when she did something unspeakable. Emily and I met right after I graduated from college. We were both attending the same career training program, and that's where we fell in love. I didn't express my feelings for her immediately. Having recently come out of a toxic relationship, I was hesitant to jump into another one. I took my time because I didn't want to be deceived by her beautiful smiles and kind words. Eventually, we grew close and admitted our attraction to each other. Shortly after that, we started dating. After 2 years of dating, we got married and moved into a larger apartment. Living with Emily and learning more about her every day was fun. She always seemed to have something up her sleeve to keep life interesting. We were newlyweds, completely obsessed with each other, and did almost everything together. Eating, shopping, taking baths, and even praying. I had read somewhere that spending time with your partner strengthens your bond, so I made that my focus. Before we got married, we agreed to wait to have kids, so we could enjoy each other's company without any distractions. Emily worked as a secretary at a large tech firm, while I worked as a construction worker. Though we weren't wealthy, our combined income was enough to sustain a simple yet sophisticated lifestyle. Between the two of us, Emily was the more social one. She could make friends with anyone she wanted, while I was the polar opposite. I barely made friends and was only close to my older brother. Emily had a best friend, Mia, 30F, whom she had been close to since their school days. On my end, I stuck to my brother because it was hard for me to open up to new people. I had a few friends, but none close enough to be called a best friend. Emily and Mia were inseparable, and if you didn't know better, you might mistake them for sisters. They were both blonde, had the same eye color, and even acted similarly. Mia was practically family to us, and we frequently visited each other's homes. Mia was a lawyer, and her husband ran a successful landscaping business. Occasionally, we'd go on family outings together or plan vacations. Despite being an introvert, I tried to build a relationship with Mia's husband. However, no matter how hard I tried, it never felt natural. Our conversations were forced, and so was everything else we did together. Still, I never complained when Emily and Mia planned outings or vacations for our families. I understood that Emily was only trying to make life enjoyable and help me relax outside of work. These outings were also opportunities for me to get out of my shell and try to be more social. This is all to say that Mia's husband wasn't a stranger to me. Emily was also very close to him. Since they had known each other for 2 years before I entered the picture, I didn't suspect anything inappropriate was going on between them. That was until Mia asked to meet me at a cafe one day. When I met Mia at the cafe, she looked worried. The first thing she said to me was, "I think my husband is cheating on me." Initially, I was confused because her husband didn't seem like the type of man to cheat. He adored her and often went out of his way to show it. Every time we went out for dinner, picnics, or visited their home, he treated Mia like she was the only woman in the world. His devotion to her even became a sore point in my marriage. After every outing, Emily would compare me to Mia's husband. She'd complain about the things he did for Mia that I didn't do for her. At first, I shrugged it off, thinking she was just teasing, but it became frequent and frustrating. Mia's husband inherited his landscaping business from his father. He didn't have to work as hard as I did, yet money kept rolling in for him. This allowed him to spoil Mia with gifts and luxuries. Every time Mia received something fancy, she'd call Emily to gush about it. While Emily sounded excited during the calls, the moment she hung up, she would start making snide remarks about Mia and how she didn't deserve those things. Despite her constant grumbling, I never mentioned it to Mia or her husband. I chalked it up to Emily being envious of her friend's fortune. So, when Mia told me she suspected her husband of cheating, it was a shock. At first, I wanted to defend him because nothing I'd seen suggested he was unfaithful. But then, I realized something. Mia should have been talking to Emily about this. Not me. I asked her, "Why are you telling me instead of Emily?" What Mia said next made my throat go dry. "Because I think he's cheating on me with Emily." I was speechless. I couldn't process her words immediately. Emily, my wife, having an affair with Mia's husband? I told Mia it wasn't possible. Emily loved me, and I was confident that I'd been a good husband. Sure, we had our differences, but nothing could justify her betraying me like this. Mia didn't press me to believe her. She simply nodded and said, "I hope I'm wrong, but my gut tells me otherwise." The rest of the day passed in a blur. My mind kept replaying Mia's words, and for the first time, I started to notice things I had ignored. Emily had been acting differently for months. She didn't spend as much time with me anymore. Our conversations felt forced, and our intimacy had dwindled to almost nothing. I chalked it up to stress from work or maybe just a phase. Then there was her wardrobe. Emily had recently bought a lot of tight, revealing clothes. She wore them to work and every time she went out. I didn't mind her dressing up, but the change was drastic and seemed deliberate. Mia and I agreed to investigate separately. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, and I hoped we'd find nothing. That night, I waited for Emily to fall asleep and checked her phone. Nothing. I went through her social media accounts, her messages. There was no evidence of an affair. I did this for a week, even checking her work laptop, but I found nothing incriminating. Just as I began to feel guilty for doubting her, Mia called me. She had hired a private investigator to follow her husband. The PI had found proof. Mia sent me the photos and videos. Emily and Mia's husband meeting up at restaurants, kissing in parking lots, and spending time together in ways that were undeniably intimate. It was all there. Seeing the evidence broke me. I had tried so hard to dismiss Mia's suspicions, but the proof was undeniable. My wife was having an affair with her best friend's husband. I spent that night in a motel. I couldn't bring myself to go home and face Emily. The betrayal felt suffocating. My mind was a mess, replaying every moment I'd spent with her, trying to figure out when it had all gone wrong. Mia called me that evening. She was devastated, too. We both tried to comfort each other, but there was only so much words could do. Her betrayal had ripped apart not just 2 marriages but also a lifelong friendship. The next morning, I went home, dreading what I had to do. Emily was there, completely unbothered by the fact that I hadn't come home. That alone should have been a red flag, but I tried to stay calm as I confronted her. "I've been hearing rumors about you and Mia's husband," I said. She froze, her face momentarily betraying her guilt before she quickly recovered. "What? That's ridiculous. You believe that? Who told you that?" I pressed her, asking if there was any truth to it. Emily denied everything with such conviction that, for a brief moment, I almost believed her. But then I showed her the photos and videos Mia had sent me. Her expression shifted again, this time to panic. Then she said something that almost made me laugh. "This is all a setup. Mia's trying to destroy our marriage because she's jealous of me." The sheer audacity of her claim stunned me. Mia jealous of her? After everything Emily had done? It was laughable. She stormed out of the house before I could say anything else, leaving me sitting there, seething. Later that day, I received a call from Mia. Emily had gone to her house and physically assaulted her, breaking a few things in the process. Mia was at the hospital, being treated for minor injuries. Couldn't believe it. Even after being caught red-handed, Emily had the audacity to lash out at Mia. That evening, Emily returned home like nothing had happened. When I asked her why she had gone to Mia's house, she responded flippantly, "I just wanted to put her in her place." Her response made my blood boil. It was clear that Emily felt no remorse for her actions. She was unapologetic and vindictive. After her brazen response, I knew there was no salvaging our marriage. Emily wasn't just unrepentant. She was toxic. I didn't say another word that evening, but I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I visited Mia in the hospital. Seeing her bruised and emotionally wrecked only solidified my decision. Mia recounted how Emily had unleashed years of pent-up resentment during the assault, accusing Mia of always trying to overshadow her. "I never knew she hated me this much," Mia said tearfully. "She said I didn't deserve anything I have, that she wanted to take everything away from me." Hearing that chilled me to my core. Emily's betrayal wasn't just about infidelity. It was a calculated attempt to ruin Mia's life out of jealousy. When I returned home, I confronted Emily again. This time, I told her everything I'd learned from Mia. I brought up her bitter remarks, her attempts to manipulate everyone around her, and her assault on her so-called best friend. She tried to play the victim, saying, "I've lost everything. You're supposed to stand by me, no matter what." I couldn't believe her nerve. "No, Emily. Husbands stand by wives who are loyal, not ones who destroy lives for their selfishness." When she realized I wasn't falling for her act, she switched tactics, begging me to give her another chance. She even tried to seduce me, but I was beyond caring. Finally, I pulled out the divorce papers I had prepared and dropped them on the table. "Sign these," I said firmly. Her face twisted with disbelief. "You're divorcing me? After everything I've done for us?" I laughed bitterly. "Done for us? You've done nothing but tear us apart, Emily. You betrayed me, Mia, and even yourself. There's no coming back from this." That night, I threw her things out onto the front lawn. Neighbors gathered as she screamed and begged, creating a scene. I didn't care. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of control returning to my life. Emily eventually left the lawn that night, defeated and humiliated. She tried to regain her footing by reaching out to mutual friends and even family members, painting herself as the victim of a vindictive husband and best friend. However, the truth had already spread. Mia had shared her side of the story, backed up by irrefutable evidence from the private investigator. Meanwhile, Mia decided she wasn't going to let Emily walk away unscathed. She filed a lawsuit for the physical assault, citing damages to her property and emotional distress. I supported Mia every step of the way, testifying about what I knew of Emily's behavior and the destruction she caused. When Emily received the legal papers, she stormed into my workplace. She was livid, claiming Mia had no right to sue her and insisting the court would see through Mia's supposed lies. I stared at her in disbelief. Emily, the court will see everything, including the evidence Mia has. You brought this on yourself. You're supposed to help me, she screamed. You're my husband. No, I'm not, I replied coldly. You lost the right to call me that the moment you betrayed me. Mia's case against Emily went to court quickly, as the evidence was overwhelming. Witnesses confirmed Emily's assault on Mia, and the private investigator's documentation painted a damning picture of her infidelity and malicious intent. The judge ruled in Mia's favor, ordering Emily to pay damages for the assault and destruction of property. She was also fined an additional amount for her violent actions. Emily's arrogance crumbled as the judgment was read. Mia called me after the hearing to share the outcome. Justice was served, she said with quiet satisfaction. But I'll never forget what she did to me, or to you. Emily's life continued to unravel. After being evicted from my house, she tried to return to her mother's home. However, when her mother learned the full extent of her betrayal, she refused to take Emily in. Desperate and alone, Emily tried to rekindle her affair with Mia's ex-husband, but he wanted nothing more to do with her after the scandal came to light. It turned out that he had been using Emily for his own selfish reasons and dropped her as soon as it became inconvenient. As for me, I finalized the divorce and moved forward with my life. Mia and I became closer during this difficult time, supporting each other through the fallout of Emily's betrayal. One day, as we sat together reminiscing about the chaos, Mia looked at me and said, maybe this was the universe's way of pushing us to rebuild our lives, with better people in them. Her words resonated deeply. Emily's betrayal had left scars, but it also cleared the way for me to prioritize my happiness and surround myself with people who truly cared. Emily's downfall was swift and merciless. She lost her husband, her best friend, her reputation, and even her family's support. While I don't wish ill upon anyone, I can't deny that her fate felt like poetic justice. Mia, now free from her toxic marriage, began focusing on her career and personal growth. Watching her thrive was inspiring, and I found myself doing the same. Looking back, I realized that sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the best transformations. Life has a way of breaking us apart so we can rebuild stronger.